Like, that's gonna mess with him.
Yeah.
Like, and it did. It did.
It can. Yeah.
You know,
did.
like it just like it's really just really sad for anybody that might date me, to be honest with you.
You want to date Meri? Let me look into your background. Provide me with prescription records.
There you go. Anyway, so there you go. It's official from me. Last week, Amos and I did decide that we were not going to continue our dating relationship.
Hey friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Well, we need to talk because there's a new article from The Sun about Meri Brown and her boyfriend Amos and why they broke up and what happened and all of the details that occurred as a result of their union or lack thereof. And also, interestingly, Meri Brown launched a new business called Worthy Up, where she's going to be a life coach. But today in Utah at the Capitol, lawmakers met and heard from people that have been negatively impacted by life coaches. And as a result, proposed legislation has been introduced to the Utah legislature to come define life coaching, make certification a requirement, licensing of some sort a requirement, and have some sort of definition for education, qualifications, and all of it, which we'll get into in a second. And it all has to do with Ruby, Frankie, and her husband, Kevin, who had a statement that was read to the Utah legislators about this and what Jody and Ruby did to his children. And this could obviously impact Meri because currently, as this law has been introduced and written, now it hasn't been signed and it's unlikely it'll get passed this year, but Meri would be excluded for certification due to her involvement in the practice of polygamy. So let's dive into today's topic. Before we do, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. So first off, according to The Sun, now we all know The Sun is not the most reliable, but hey, they certainly got some things right about Amos, apparently, allegedly. And they have some details about why Meri Brown dumped her boyfriend. Now, the spin here is that Meri dumped Amos, and it was all because of his financial issues and all of the red flags, including 4 divorces, which apparently Meri did not even know about until the news hit the media. Now, on her Friday Night with Friends, Meri went hard against the media for releasing this information, but then in her statement that she put out the following day, she made sure to state that they had different values, different goals, different aspirations. She also said that she looked past someone's past to see their kind eyes. It was clear that something about his past was driving her choice to end this relationship. And clearly we don't know if it was her that dumped him or he that dumped her, but this is the way it's being spun on The Sun, so take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, she dumped him over his financial issues. And this is what a source says. Amos's reputation getting out was a huge issue, meaning his bad reputation. Meri realized he wasn't as ambitious as her and wasn't a go-getter. He didn't have a stable job, and that was one major red flag. The source said basically everything had gone wrong, and once more about his background came out, including money troubles and his nasty second divorce, it was just too many red flags and it became overwhelming. So if you remember, his money troubles had to do with bankruptcies in 1998 or 2000, but also having a ton of debt when he divorced his ex-wife in 2021. And then his ex-wife coming out and saying, listen, he doesn't have stable employment. He's never really had stable employment. He bounces around all the time. He's constantly going from one relationship to the next. He said on Friday Night with Friends that he had only 3 divorces, but the truth was he had 4 divorces. So he wasn't being completely honest with Meri. The insider also said his financial issues was something Meri realized was going to be a problem down the road. Meri is looking for financial support and someone who can support her goals and help her become successful. That's not like a boyfriend. If this is what Meri's looking for, why? This is like, if that's true, this is like the indoctrination of this culture where a woman has to rely on a man to support her financially and someone who can support her goals and help her become successful. What about what you can both do for each other? This sounds very one-sided. This sounds actually slightly narcissistic. But hey, this actually sounds a lot like what Robin wanted from Kody. She wanted someone who financially supported her and someone that would help her become successful. Maybe this is Robin. She won't settle for anything less, and she is not settling and wants to do better than the other sister wives. Oh, so she's in a competition, apparently. That actually wouldn't surprise me if this was true. Anyways, she fell hard too fast with Amos and then hard launched her relationship too soon. She should have waited for it to be more serious. She was excited though and couldn't wait to share it with the world. The insider claims she wanted to make sure even her estranged sister wives, Christine, Janelle, and Robin, and her ex were well aware of her relationship status. Some people did question if she was doing this as sort of a way because of the competition where Christine got such a positive response from people when she and David announced their relationship. So people were like, well, and then all of the flood of attention she got with the wedding, if Meri hard launched it after the end of the season so that she could get her own like attention. And I say this because in this culture that they're all coming from, all based on competition, the wives have been indoctrinated and all they look at is competitiveness because they're all competing for the same man. And so they're competing to be seen and they want to be valued. And then they're also competing to be seen and valued by the leadership of the church. So it's just this whole thing about being better than people and being the best that is like ingrained in this culture, that this doesn't surprise me. And it kind of felt like she was doing that. But again, take it with a grain of salt. She wanted to show Kody that she was capable of moving on and can love another man. I actually believe this 100%. I don't care if it's not true, but I believe she would do something like that because Kody was so bad to her over this past season, especially when it came to him and how he described Meri and how awful she was and how terrible she was as a person and like how unlovable she was. You know, he said something like she beat the love out of me. And there's been all kinds of like speculation about, is Meri, you know, what has she done to the kids and all of that. So sticking it to Kody for sure could be a motive. Then they go on to describe what the actual issues with Amos that sort of were tipping points for her. The fact that his ex described him as narcissistic and controlling, that he was an opportunist who wanted to date someone with money and power. I really think he's really opportunistic to look into someone that's been in a relationship that maybe didn't get the attention. And he comes in and provides all of that attention and seems like this knight on a white horse. And that he's looking for someone for a payday. I think he likes to stay low-key because he continued to do this to multiple people. She admitted on her most recent Friday Night with Friends that he couldn't handle the reports that came out about him because he wasn't used to the limelight. Her public statement was that she was blaming the media and that it was all their fault for painting him badly. But if he has this in his past and these are deal breakers for her, that's a fair decision. And if she's looking for a man to support her financially and help her, that seems like a very one-sided relationship. I would hope that in time, as Meri changes and deprograms, she realizes that relationships are a two-way street and that it's not just about a man supporting a woman financially, but also about a woman being able to support herself financially. On top of that, it's not just like the man giving to the woman. It's like give and take. And I do think a lot of what Meri is doing is maybe a reverse Uno, where it's like she did everything for Kody and now she almost wants everyone to do things for her. And I've noticed on her Instagram that everyone she surrounds herself with are yes people that like basically worship her. and that probably feels good to her. Now, back to, so this is, she dumps her loser boyfriend. La la la. Next, Meri launched a business for life coaching, and this is going to be a problem in the very near future because Utah introduced a bill which would establish a registration process for life coaches. It would establish a registration process for a life coach, a renewal process for a life coach, requires that the Division of Professional Licensing grant life coaches registrations under certain conditions, exempts certain professions from regulations as a life coach, establishing grounds under which a division may refuse to issue a registration, grants authority to the division to revoke a registration, and authority to the division to define what unlawful conduct and unprofessional conduct means for a life coach. So one of the biggest issues for Kevin in the letter that he had read to legislators today was that there are no legal grounds and no recourse or actions that anyone can take against a life coach that has come in and systematically dismantles and ruins their lives. There's no protections for these victims. There's no way for these people to get restitution or reparations. There's no organization monitoring if and who these people are that are claiming to be life coaches. So anyone, regardless of their background, can claim to be a life coach and have experience and market it, which is effectively what Jody Hildebrand. But he also stated that his own wife got a meaningless certification from Jody and paid Jody $10,000 to get this so that she could derail and harm other people. And that's what he's trying to stop. So some of the details under the current writing, and this is very rough. It says an individual may not act as a life coach in the state without holding a certificate. An applicant for registration shall be submitted. An application's name, birth date, place of birth, contact information, address of their address and their place of business, work and mobile phone numbers, any means of communicating electronically, contact information, mailing addresses, telephone numbers, organizations forming, and any social media accounts that the applicant or their business would be affiliated with. Description of their training, formal training as a life coach, practical experience as a life coach, and educational background relating to an applicant's activities as a life coach. And then here's some things that would cause issues that they would ask people applying is whether the applicant has pleaded guilty or no contest to, or has been convicted of, or has charges pending for a crime that would involve moral turpitude or be a felony if committed in the state, and if so, identification of the crime, the law enforcement agency involved, the date of the conviction, whether there's been any administration or judicial determinations that they have made any false, misleading, or deceptive or fraudulent representations. There's also a stipulation in here that would specifically target someone like Meri because of her involvement in polygamy. It says they may refuse to issue a certificate of registration to an applicant under subsection 2 if the division determines the applicant has engaged in conduct that significantly adversely reflects on the applicant's fitness to act as a life coach, meaning unlawful conduct, unprofessional conduct. In making a determination under this, they may consider whether the applicant has pleaded guilty, no contest to crimes, made a material, false, misleading, deceptive, or fraudulent representation in the application, engaged in conduct that adversely reflects on the applicant's credibility, honesty, or integrity. Here's the deal. She's never been convicted of a crime, but she has engaged in conduct that would adversely reflect on her credibility, her honesty, and her integrity. Why? Because on television, she is admitted to helping her husband be the bait to bring women into his harem in polygamy. She was participating in unlawful conduct in the state of Utah as a polygamist. She is not a polygamist now, but that past could, like anybody's past, could be a consideration under this. And there are lots of jobs under the state and under the law that polygamists simply cannot hold because of the fact that they're engaging in criminal activity, immoral activity, and the fact that it's a felony in most states and in the in the US government. It's a federal felony as well. So under this new provision, she could basically be barred from being a life coach. And frankly, given her history and given Janelle's history in polygamy, I wouldn't trust either one of those women to give advice to anyone. And I also believe that their indoctrination and their programming at this present time without any formal education would not be good for anyone. And they could cause and harm a lot of people. So I don't know when and if this will ever go into play. I hope that there's something more like nationwide to stop this huge problem we have of people basically running what are effective Ponzi schemes, which is what Jody did to Ruby by training people and what Meri went through with Danielle. So Danielle trained her to be a life coach, and she has no business training anyone to be a life coach. Anything that Danielle provided to Meri means nothing. There's no oversight, there's no body, there's no research that says that what she's teaching these people will do any good for anyone. And it financially devastates people because people end up spending thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars for these certifications or to work with these life coaches. And then they are harmed, whether it's they're harmed financially, harmed physically, harmed mentally, harmed emotionally. It's like Kevin's letter basically said, if I were to impersonate a doctor, I would be in jail. So it should be no different that a life coach should not be allowed to impersonate a mental health care provider under the guise of being a coach or a mentor or a, guru, whatever. And he did say mentor, and that's what Meri's trying to market herself as, a mentor. Meri should be very careful in this, and this could also impact Danielle in the state of Utah. She's not a Utah resident, but it could impact her ability to work with people in Utah. And that's a good thing. Frankly, there needs to be some sort of legislation or something to protect people from these harmful people impersonating mental health care providers. So, what are your thoughts about all of this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.